Hello guys, this is me Simo Orahara. In this video we'll talk about the fight of Zaraki and the 8th Kenpachi Azashiro Soya. This video was supposed to be very long guys, because the fight of Zaraki and Azashiro didn't happen in one scene or in a successive chapters like the fight of Zaraki and Yachiro Unohana. This fight was sporadic in the novel and included several characters in some part of the fight, but I decided in the end to focus only on the fight between Zaraki and Azashiro, and I did my best to gather the fight in one piece. I have to mention that Kubo himself, when he read the fight of Azashiro and Zaraki, was shocked from what he read, because narrator, the one who made this novel, managed to reveal one of the secrets of the manga that Kubo was keeping for himself for the final arc, and this secret was the power of Zaraki and how it works. And because of that, narrator told Kubo, if that's so, I can remove this fight from the novel, because the novel released in 2012 and at that time the final arc was just in its first chapters, so it would be a big spoiler for the ones who will read the novel. But Kubo said to him, it's okay, just keep it in the novel. In the last video we spoke about different things about Azashiro. We covered the story of his backgrounds as a child and how he became the 8th Kenpachi and killed the previous Kenpachi Koryashiki. We spoke about the abilities of his Zanpakuto, his Bankai, and how he did end up in the Mugen and how he did got out of it after 250 years. We also discussed his goal and what he wants to do. But before diving into the course of the fight, we must first go over some of the main characters in the novel that had a direct or indirect relation with the fight. There are three other main characters than the Gochi 13 and Azashiro. There is Don Kaonji, and yes, this human character had a big part in the novel. And also we have Thien. Thien is a copy of the Espada 8 Zairo Aporo. He was created accidentally by this Arankara who named Roka Paramia. She is like Nemo. Nemo is created by Mayuri, and Roka Paramia was created by Zairo Aporo. And we saw her in the anime and the manga. She was working like a nurse for Yami and he smashed her head. That smash should have killed her, but Roka has a special power that could make her able to connect herself with all the matter of her space via her negation traits. Not only that, she can share Ryatsu and informations that she can collect. And for such scenarios, she made a copy of her memories in her body and distributed them in all parts of Wikomondo. And of course, Zairo Aporo was aware of her ability. For that, he also duplicated all his memories and everything about him via her traits in the Wikomondo parts. So when she was about to die, she started regenerating herself by recollecting all the informations which she had been distributed in the parts of the Wikomondo, and in the end she was able to reconstruct herself. At that time the battle of Fake Karakura was already over. Aizen in the Mugen, Zairo Aporo died in his fight against Mayuri, so she started wandering between Wikomondo and the human world, and in the human world where Don Kaonji meets her and he will try to protect her as her hero. But as I said, when she reconstructed herself, by default she made a copy of Zairo Aporo. This copy will order Roka to attack headquarters of the 12th division to recover his body that was saved by Mayuri, and during that attack Azashiro finds a way to escape from the Mugen. Anyway, those two characters, Thien and Roka Paramia, I will not go in detail about them in this video. In the future I will do my own version about Thien and his fight against Zaraki and Roka Paramia in her fight against Thien. Those fights happened in the novel. The one thing that you should know is all those characters, the Gochi 13, Azashiro, Thien and Don Kaonji, they will revolve around Roka, and the main reason is because of her special ability. In my last video we saw how Azashiro appeared in the urgent meeting of the Gochi that was about his escape from the Mugen, and he showed them his plan. He wants to alter the souls or the brains of the human in the real world by doing something like the psychosurgery to stop all the feelings that lead the humans' souls to become a hollow. Before the Gucci refused his plan, Hiraku said to him, "Okay, let's say we agree with your plan. Are you an idiot? It will take forever to alter all the brains of billions and billions of humans." And here Azashiro said something interesting. He said that if he had the female Arankara powers, he could do it in 1 year. And by saying the female Arankara, he means Roca Paramia. Actually, I don't know when he knew about her power, but you're probably gonna asking me how he would use this power of Roca to make his plan succeed. As I said before, Azashiro's Bankai makes him able to activate his ability over an area like the Zaraki in size. In that area he can hear and see everything, and the important is that he can fuse himself with a living thing or non-living thing and play with them the way he wants. And I think the reason why he can only cover an area like the Zaraki, it comes to the Ryatsu. If he wanted to cover, for example, the entire Soul Society with his Bankai's power, then he would need a lot of Ryatsu. And Azashiro can't do that. But if you remember, we said that one of Roca Paramia abilities is that she can share the Ryatsu. And if Azashiro can get this ability, then he can receive a lot of Ryatsu from multi-source in the same time, and then he can extend his Bankai range to larger areas. So this is why Roca Paramia was an important target for Azashiro to make his plan succeed. The Gucci now, they know the importance of Roca Paramia, and based on this information, Yamamoto will order Zaraki Kenpachi to go to the real world and capture her. And yes, Roca was at that time in the real world with her hero Don Kaonji. So the Gucci 13 knew that they must go after her before Azashiro. If they got her first, then Azashiro wouldn't be able to activate his plan. Before Zaraki takes his road to the real world, he asked someone who already had a short clash with Azashiro, and this person was Yumichika. Before Azashiro appeared in the Gucci 13 meeting, he went to one of the Rekongai regions where Yumichika and Madarame were still investigating the appearance of Roca. There, Azashiro beat both of them at the same time and stole Yamichika's Zanpakuto because he knew anything about the Zaraki. So Azashiro has already an information about the true form of Yumichika Shikai Kujaku. And as we know, the true Shikai of Yumichika can make him absorb the opponent's Ryatsu until he dies. I don't know exactly why did Azashiro take Yumichika's Zanpakuto, but it may be because one of Azashiro's weakness is that he is weak in front of the attacks that can absorb the Ryatsu. Such attacks affect him more than anyone else. So Zaraki asked Yumichika how was his fight with Azashiro. Yumichika replied that it wasn't even a fight, and when Yumichika wanted to explain more some abilities of Azashiro, Zaraki stopped him saying, "I don't want to know my opponent's weakness, that would be boring." He added one more question. Is he strong? Yes, he is. That answer put a smile on Zaraki's face. It has been a while since he fought someone strong, and now the time has come. Zaraki inside the Dangai on his way to the real world. He wanted to go alone, but since he has a problem tracking the Ryatsu of his opponents, Yumichika and Ikako also went with him. Not only them, the entire 11th Division members were with him. When they got closer to the gate of the real world, suddenly Yumichika sensed a mysterious Ryatsu. He has been face to face with this Ryatsu before, and before the others, he knew it. It's him, Azashiro, standing in front of the gate that led to the real world. The soldiers directly felt angry. How can that man wear the howry of their captain? Looking at Zaraki and his entire division soldiers, Azashiro thought that was maybe Yamamoto's idea. Since it could be a fight between two Kenpachi, then it should happen in the presence of 200 soldiers from the 11th Division. That was his thoughts. After they exchanged their names, the little Yachiri jumped off Zaraki's shoulder and wished him a good look. At that moment, Zaraki swings his sword towards Azashiro to show him who's his real opponent. At the same time, Azashiro melts in the air as a defense technique to avoid Zaraki's attack, and that's what happened. Azashiro avoided the attack of Zaraki that created a violent gust of Ryatsu. Keep in mind that Azashiro is always in the Bankai mode. I mean, Zaraki now is facing a Kenpachi using the Bankai. Therefore, the ability of Azashiro to melt in the air made it easy for him to avoid Zaraki's attack. Showing himself to Zaraki again, Azashiro thought maybe Zaraki will give up. There is no way to hit him. Give up? Are you serious, Azashiro? You want from Zaraki to give up? The genius Zaraki replied to Azashiro, okay, if you can turn into air, then all I have to do is cut the air. Wow. Seeing Zaraki's wild desire to fight forced Azashiro to use one of his techniques, Utsusu. And we said before that Utsusu, it's a technique that makes Azashiro able to copy his mouth and hands in several different locations at once, which allows him to utilize hundreds of high-level Kido at the exact same time. Closing his eyes, Azashiro started chanting the Kido, and Zaraki could hear Azashiro's voice coming from all the directions. That's not all, hundreds of mouths and hands came out of the air chanting different genres of Kido in the same time, and under Azashiro's command, those hands and mouths directed all the Kido strikes towards Zaraki. The power of those attacks that made the gauge that led to Karakura-chan crack under the pressure. But Zaraki has survived from those attacks, though he was bleeding all over his body. He admitted that he underestimated Azashiro's magic tricks, but Azashiro has already left the Garaganta after his attack. Maybe he thought that attack would stop Zaraki, and that was like the first part of Zaraki and Azashiro's fight, because the events after will focus on various characters like Roka and Kaonji, and also Thien. To summarize the events so we can reach the second part of this fight between Zaraki and Azashiro, this is what happened. Thien and the Goty 13 and Azashiro all wanted to catch Roka, but unexpected development in the events will make Thien fight Zaraki, and they will fight inside a Garganta. Their fight was really long, and I will make a video about it later. But the only thing you should know for now is during the fight of Zaraki and Thien, Zaraki's power has increased in a strange way, and at that time Azashiro was trying to fuse with Roka, but he couldn't find her. He fused with the air of Karakura-chan to look for her, but he couldn't find anything about her. In the midst of the whirlwind of those intervening events, Roka has opened a Garaganta to escape, and that was a problem for Azashiro because he can't open a Garaganta by himself. But what caught his attention is the cracks that started appearing in the sky, and it was because of the ongoing battle between Zaraki and Thien. More than an hour has passed since Zaraki and Thien started fighting. Azashiro started to think that it was the time to get rid of both of them. But what shocked Azashiro is the Ryatsu of Zaraki. It's become much stronger than before. And here Azashiro will remember a part of his conversation with Aizen in the Muken, in which we will discover a shocking information about Zaraki Kenpachi. Azashiro asked Aizen why he confined Inoue Orihime in the Wikomondo. Aizen replied, come on man, ask me directly, you want to know about Zaraki Kenpachi? Azashiro replied, yes. He was surprised that Zaraki won against an espada, even though he lost a fight against Ichigo Kurosaki, the boy who didn't even master his Bankai. Aizen replied that isolating Zaraki in Wikomondo was one of the positive effects of kidnapping Inoue. He figured that if Kurosaki entered Wikomondo, the Gochi would also send captains to the Wikomondo, and they did, just as planned. And Aizen thought that Yamamoto and Zaraki could pose the biggest hindrance to his plan. Wow, can you imagine that? Aizen avoided to enter a fight with Zaraki. And I think Aizen didn't mean he couldn't win or beat Zaraki, but it's better to avoid fighting someone whose power is not expected, especially when we talk about monsters in terms of Ryatsu like Yamaji and Zaraki. Taking the advantage of the cracks caused by Zaraki and Tien's fight, Azashiro managed to get inside the Garganta, and Tien already stopped fighting Zaraki because he went after Ruka after he saw her in the Garganta too. But the question of why Zaraki's Ryatsu became much stronger than before in a short time was still a question that Azashiro really wanted to know its answer. This is why he asked Zaraki directly, since they are face to face. But Zaraki replied, "I don't know what you are talking about." I think Azashiro at that moment felt stupid for asking Zaraki that sort of questions. Right after that answer, Azashiro's going to do something really crazy, guys. Closing his eyes slowly, Azashiro made hundreds of Gigai appear around Zaraki like merry-go-round, and he made them chant one of the most dangerous Hado, Hado 96, Itokasu. It's the same Hado that the old man Yamamoto used against Aizen, if you still remember. In this case, we are not talking about one Hado. It's hundreds of Gigai chanting the same forbidden Hado to let them out on Zaraki. And for using that Hado, Azashiro sacrificed by those Gigai and also a part of his soul that were fusing inside the Gigai bodies. With that insane attack of Firestorm of Fire engulfed Zaraki's body from all sides, making the Garganta looks like a part of hell. And after a few moments of that attack, Azashiro couldn't sense Zaraki's Ryatsu coming behind those rivers of flames. It's finally over. That's what Azashiro thought. He turned at the little Yachiro and asked her if she plans to fight him. She replied, "I won't," and she stares at the flames saying, "Ken-chan, it's still fine, you know." In a moment he thought she was delirious, but after a few seconds he turned out to see Zaraki's lips out the flames. He couldn't believe what his eyes just saw. Not believing what his eyes saw, Azashiro got into a bout of hysteria and he just started to fuse with anything he can make a weapon and shot Zaraki, screaming, "Die, die, die." But wait a second, what did this scene remind you of? We saw something like that happening between Zaraki and someone in the final arc. Do you remember, guys? Yes, it's the same thing that happened with Grimy. It's almost the same thing. Azashiro fused with anything to attack Zaraki, and Grimy also used his imagination to create different weapons and tools to beat Zaraki, but they didn't work. At that moment, and I don't know how, it said in the summaries that Aizen managed to contact Azashiro from the Mugen. Is he contact him, or it's just a flashback from their conversation in the Mugen? But however, Aizen said something really shocking to Azashiro, and it shocked also Kubo himself. Aizen said that the reason why Ichigo won against Zaraki because Zaraki wants to fight, not to murder his opponent. He loves to fight on the brink of the dead. And by default, without knowing this, Zaraki's mind or soul or body or whatever, it starts calculating the opponent's power, and based on that, the Ryatsu of Zaraki became equal to his opponent, so he can't kill him and enjoy the battle. But in his fight against Ichigo it was like that. But in a moment after Ichigo made a contact with his Zanpakuto, suddenly Ichigo's Ryatsu increased without giving any chance to Zaraki's body, increased as well his Ryatsu to continue the fight, and that's how he lost his fight. Do you remember something, guys? It's the same thing that Onohana said when she was fighting Zaraki. She explained the mechanism of Zaraki's power almost the same way Aizen told Azashiro, and this is why Kubo was surprised that someone managed to reveal this truth about Zaraki that he was keeping secret until the final arc. Zaraki did the same thing with Yachiro when he was a child. he could finish her, but because he loves the fight and he enjoyed fighting her and he loves making his soul to the edge of the death, he decreased his Ryatsu by default when he saw his opponent weaker than him. And knowing this shocking truth, if Azashiro had used Itokaso from the start when he fought Zaraki in their first clash, Zaraki would have probably died. But Azashiro had kept trying to kill Zaraki with a little power, causing Zaraki adjust and release more Ryatsu step by step. And as a proof, it's now took Zaraki only one swing to destroy the weapons with which Azashiro was fused. And also the fight between Zaraki and Tien had a role in increasing his Ryatsu. With all these things in mind now, Azashiro had only one solution left: to try the Setai Yugo, the same technique that he used against the 7th Kenpachi Koryashiki, and he killed him by it. Fuse with Zaraki's body and crush him from inside. And he tried to do that, he tried to crush Zaraki's lungs, but he failed, because when he does it on a person, usually the person shows a resistance to let Azashiro outside of his body, and this power of resistance varies from person to person. And since we talk here about Zaraki, I think it's clear enough to know that it's really useless to fight Zaraki now with those abilities. Feeling despair, Azashiro melts with the air and arising himself from Zaraki's vision, and then Zaraki told Yachiro to stand back and he unleashes a large attack, creating a big crack between the human world and the Garganta. The large attack of Zaraki was strong enough to send Azashiro through the Garganta to the real world. And what will happen next is Azashiro will find Ruka again. At that time she had already fought Tien in the Wikomondo. However, she was with her hero Don Kaonji. She wanted to thank him, but they are now facing Azashiro. It was his last chance to fuse with Ruka before Zaraki comes after him. To summarize those scenes, Azashiro was attracted by Don Kaonji's insistence to protect Ruka. And how could he protect someone that he knew just a few hours ago? Maybe Azashiro remembered his childhood when he was a child and he couldn't protect his sister because he was weak. But in the end, Azashiro surrendered to the fait accompli. And the proof is when Zaraki appeared in the sky coming to catch him, Azashiro didn't move and got the final slash from Zaraki. I don't know if Azashiro fell down unconscious or he got the attack of Zaraki and disappeared. In the last lines of the summaries, it didn't say what happened next, but it wasn't the end for their fight. In the summaries, it said that Azashiro had woke up standing in the Senkaimon. I don't know if they captured him or he showed himself by his will, but it's like the Gucci were expecting that he will appear. And Zaraki asked Azashiro to continue their fight, but it seemed that Azashiro already given up and he wanted to surrender. However, he accepted Zaraki's challenge, but this time Azashiro asked Orozakuro to return into the Shikai mode. Azashiro's Shikai was like a normal katana, nothing special about it except that the Rishi of everything Azashiro has been fused with the Bankai mode has been condensed into his Zanpakuto. And so Azashiro introduces himself as a captain of the 11th Division Azashiro Kenpachi, and Zaraki replied the same. He is captain of the 11th Division Zaraki Kenpachi, and they start fighting. Later, Zaraki is the only one who came back from the Senkaimon. His division soldiers thought that Zaraki killed Azashiro. I don't know again what happened between them in their last final fight, but Azashiro didn't die. He appeared in the Surety and he was late after that towards the Muken. There, when he meets Aizen again and told him, the next time I appear before you, I might be a different person than I am now. And Aizen replied, I'm looking forward to see whether you will be a good neighbor or a good enemy then, Azashiro Soya. After that, Azashiro returned to his cell and he used an injection of drug that makes a second to be 100 of years. He said that he wants to be alone and he wants to train himself to be a stronger Shinigami. He asked her to show herself, but this time she removed the band that's covering her eyes, looking at him with a smile. Seeing her face for the first time, Azashiro told her that she resembles to his big sister, and that was the end of Azashiro's story. Even though we don't have the full translation of these novels that could make us know more about Azashiro in details, about his fights and other things, but I really liked the story of Azashiro as a character and as a background. The idea that there was a unique Kenpachi like him, noble Kenpachi. And when I saw the design of Azashiro for the first time, I thought he is a bad guy or someone like Tokinada. All we saw from Azashiro is just a small thing from him, because he wasn't in full control on his Zanpakuto. And as you can see, if we took Azashiro, for example, as a canon character in the world of Bleach, technically Azashiro is still alive, and Kobo could, or he had the possibility to introduce him in the final arc. And this is why I didn't like how Kobo made Aizen return in the final arc. When I heard for the first time that there are other strong characters in the Moken, I said to myself that it would be very good if Kobo made Aizen come back with other prisoners like Azashiro, but unfortunately it didn't happen. However guys, this is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and sorry for the language, and see you in my next video.